So we'll be considering a tax today. And under when we talk about tax, we all know it's a compulsory levy by government as a means or instrument of generating revenue, income, or for redistributing income too. We also use it to redistribute income. For example, under the regime of what we call progressive tax system, the more tax rate is imposed on the rich, while the lower rate will be paid by the poor. So now, if you look at this example, they say a man was allowed 20% of his income as tax-free. He then paid 25. So what we say here is that let the total income, since we are not giving the income, let the income equals to X. Since he's allowed 20% of his income as tax-free, that is, that will not be taxed. That means the one that will be taxed is what we call taxable. Taxable income will now be 80% of X, because we already exempt 20% to be tax-free. So 80% of X, which is same thing as if you convert 80 over 100 to decimal, it will give you 0 points. You can use your calculator, 0.8x. So this is the part of income that will be taxed. And it's paying 25 kobo in the naira. 25 kobo in the naira is another way of saying percentage, because on every 1 naira is to pay 25 kobo, and 1 naira means 100 kobo. 100 kobo is 1 naira. So on every 100 kobo is paying 25 kobo. That's 25 kobo in the naira. And 25 over 100 is same thing as 25%. 25%. So the tax now on the remainder, that is tax equals to 25% of what is left, which we call taxable income. So this is same thing as, don't forget, we are giving the tax as this. That is 1,200. They say he paid a tax of 1,200, and the expression for tax in this working is this. So we have 1,200 equals to 25% in decimal is 0.25 times 0.8x. So from there, we can simplify with our calculator. If you do 0.25 multiplied by 0.8, it's going to give you 0.2x, which is what we equate to 1,200. So we can now divide both sides by the coefficient of x in order to find x, which represents our income. If you divide 1,200 divided by 0.2, you will get 6,000. So you can then make your conclusion and say, whereas the calculate is total income. Its total income is 6,000 naira. Don't forget, anything having to do with business arithmetic, business mathematics, currency of every nation has the main currency and the lower denomination. The main currency for us in Nigeria is naira, while the lower denomination is kobo. So you put it there. What we are trying to say is that all your answer must be left in 2 decimal places. But because this one is whole number, so we say 0.00. That is the solution to the first part. To question number 1, example 1. We move to example 2. Under example 2, the question says, a married man with 5 children is on an annual salary of 75,000 naira. The man is given tax relief as follows. We have the following allowances. One thing is that, hypothetically, government is not made to tax allowance. So you always calculate all the total allowance, you subtract from the total income to get what we call taxable income, the part of income that will be taxed. So after then, so when you do that, the moment you do that and you subtract total allowance from total income, you get taxable income. It is that taxable income that you now charge tax on. Let us look at what this question says. So first, we can see that the total income is 75,000. Let's calculate all the allowances. Under the allowances, we start with a personal income allowance is 9,000. So allowances. Calculation of allowances. That's what we first do. So the first part we are doing is personal income allowance is 9,000. Let's add it. 9,000 plus, if you look at the next allowance there, this is a children allowance. Per child is entitled to 1,500. Unfortunately, government is only giving to maximum of 4. If you like, get 20 children. It's only 5 that government will give. I mean, it's only 4 of them that government will give. The rest of them, they are left to you. So we now say that means the man will get 1,500 in 4 places. So we can say plus 1,500 times 4 plus, after children allowance, we have dependent relative allowance, which will be 1/10 of his salary. And don't forget his salary is 75,000. So that one is going to be 75,000 divided by 10. That is the dependent relative allowance to cater for the relatives, the man's relatives that are depending on him. So after that, we have life insurance. Life insurance, so it's also an allowance. We had it because the person may have to insure some of his properties, maybe house or vehicle or things or any other thing. So we have this, and that is the whole allowance that we have, which is same thing as 9,000 plus 1,500 times 4 should give us 6,000. If you divide 75,000 by 10, you get 7,500 plus this 5,000 here. So the total allowance gives 9,000 plus 6,000 plus 7,500 plus 5,000. That gives us 27,500. So this is total allowance. For us to know taxable income, the part of the income to be taxed will be equals to the total income minus total allowance. Don't forget our total income is given as 75,000. So we subtract total allowance from it. And the total allowance is what? That is 75,000 minus 27,500. And this gives 75,000 minus 27,500. We're going to get 47,500 as the taxable income. And now, the tax system where the person resides, how does it go? They said, if tax is paid at 10 kobo in Naira, that's 10% on the first 20,000. So pull out the first 20,000 from this one. The person pays a tax of, the first tax he paid is 10%. That's 10 kobo in the Naira. 10% of the first 20,000 you pull out from this taxable income. And that should give 2,000 Naira. Okay. Then, having subtracted 20,000 from 47,500, we are left with 27,500 there. Next, he will pay 15 kobo in the Naira, that's 50% on the remaining, meaning that the next tax is paying on the next level is going to be 15% of the sale of the remaining. The remaining is having subtracted, you have taxed 20,000 already out of 47,500. The remaining is subtract 20,000 from 47,500. We have 27,500. And the value of that tax is, that is 4,125 Naira. 4,125 Naira. And hence, calculate the total amount of tax he pays. So total tax, you had the two values together. The total tax is going to give us, that is, you had 2,000 and this 4,125 together. And that should be 6,125 Naira, 0 kobo. So this is how to take care of this kind of problem.